Adrian Cole didn't do doctor's appointments. He did billion-dollar deals, board meetings that moved markets. At 34, he'd built an empire that never slept, never hesitated, never questioned his authority. But his executive assistant had been relentless. His lawyer had used words like liability and insurance requirements. And his mother, who never called, had personally phoned to tell him to stop being stubborn and get the damn physical done. So here he was. St. Augustine Private Medical Center rose before him like a temple to wealth and wellness. All glass and white stone, catching the late morning sun. The nurse led him down a hushed hallway to room 7, knocked twice, and pushed open the door. "Dr. Lewis, your 11 o'clock is here." Adrian stepped inside, and his world fractured. Behind the desk, a woman in a white coat rose slowly, backlit by sunlight. Her white coat almost luminous against her dark skin. Hair pulled back in a severe bun. Wire-rimmed glasses he didn't remember. 5 years. 5 years, 2 months, and 14 days. "Good morning, Mr. Cole." Her voice was cool, measured, clinical. "Please have a seat." "Maya." The word came out wrong. Too soft. Too full of history compressed into 2 syllables. Her jaw tightened. A micro-expression only someone who'd once known every detail of her face would catch. "Dr. Lewis, please." She gestured to the chair. Professional. Distant. "Won't you sit down?" Maya Lewis. Dr. Maya Lewis now. She'd done it. Finished medical school. Became the doctor she'd always dreamed of being back when they were different people living a different life. "I understand this might be unexpected," she said, her voice controlled. "But I assure you, if you'd prefer to see another physician, I can arrange." "No." Too quick. He forced control back into his voice. "No, that won't be necessary." He sat. She remained standing for a moment longer, gathering herself. When she finally took her seat, the movement was deliberate, controlled. A knight pulling on armor before battle. "I'll need to take your medical history. Any chronic conditions I should be aware of." The surrealism threatened to overwhelm him. This woman, who'd once counted his heartbeats with her head on his chest, who'd known his body as intimately as her own, was asking him clinical questions as if they were strangers. No chronic conditions. Medications. None. Family history of heart disease, diabetes, cancer? "My father had high blood pressure. Died of a stroke at 62. Her hand paused fractionally over the tablet. She knew that. She'd been there when the call came. Had held him through that first terrible night. "I'm sorry." Quiet. For just a second, the professional mask slipped. "I'd forgotten." "No, I hadn't forgotten. She cleared her throat. The mask returned. "I'll make a note of the family history." The examination was torture. Her fingers were cool against his skin as she wrapped the blood pressure cuff around his bicep. Professional. Impersonal. But her hands were shaking. Just slightly. Just enough that he felt it. The cuff inflated. She held her stethoscope to his elbow, her face close enough that he could count her eyelashes. The pressure released with a soft hiss. She stepped back quickly. "Your blood pressure is elevated. 145/92. "Is that bad?" "It's stage 1 hypertension. Concerning." She made notes. "Has anyone ever told you your blood pressure was high?" "Not that I recall." "How many hours of sleep do you average per night?" 4. 5 maybe. Her pen stilled. When she looked up, there was something in her eyes that wasn't quite professional concern. Something that remembered late nights studying together, her voice murmuring that he needed to rest. "That's not enough." "It's enough for me." "Clearly it's not, or your blood pressure wouldn't be in the hypertensive range at 34. 34 and 3 months. He said it automatically, then regretted it. It revealed too much, that he was aware she would know, that he remembered she would remember. Something shifted in her expression. Some infinitesimal softening, gone almost before it appeared. The stress test came a week later. Maya supervised, watching the monitors as his heart rate climbed higher and higher on the treadmill. When it was over, when he was gasping for breath and his legs were trembling, she reviewed the results with barely concealed worry. "Your recovery time is slower than I'd like. Your blood pressure spiked significantly under stress. And there are some irregularities in your heart rhythm that need further evaluation." She finally looked at him, and her professional mask had slipped enough to show genuine worry. "I'm not trying to alarm you, but these results concern me." "How concerned?" She hesitated. "Concerned enough that I don't want you driving yourself anywhere today. Concerned enough that—" She stopped, took a breath. "You're not taking care of yourself, Adrian." His name. She'd said his name, not Mr. Cole, and the familiarity of it after all this time made something crack in his chest. Maya. Dr. Lewis, she corrected sharply, but her hands were shaking as she clutched her tablet. You need to sit down. Your heart rate's still elevated. Because you're yelling at me. I'm not. She stopped, closed her eyes. When she opened them, some of the anger had drained away, leaving behind something that looked dangerously close to fear. Please sit down. Please. He sat. Maya stood across from him, arms crossed, her professional armor back in place but badly dented. I'm going to schedule you for an echocardiogram and a 24-hour Holter monitor. Today. I don't care what you have. Her eyes flashed. You have a cardiovascular system showing signs of significant stress. You have risk factors that put you in danger of serious cardiac events. You have a family history of stroke. So whatever meeting or call or deal you think is more important than this, I promise you it's not. She was scared. Scared for him, despite everything, despite the years and the hurt and the careful distance she was trying to maintain. All right, he said quietly. Schedule whatever you think I need. Later, after the tests, after Dr. Harrison had delivered the sobering news about his heart's condition, Maya appeared in the consultation room doorway. She stood there in her scrubs, her professional mask gone, replaced by something raw and uncertain. I wanted to check on you. Her voice was quiet. Dr. Harrison told you everything? Yes. And you understand the seriousness of your situation? I do now. She stepped into the room and closed the door behind her, leaning against it as if she needed the support. I shouldn't be here. This isn't professional. But I can't. She stopped, took a breath. When I saw those test results, Adrian, when I saw your heart struggling like that, I felt terrified. Because even after everything, even after 5 years, the thought of you dying, her voice cracked. It broke something in me. And I hate that it did. I hate that I still care this much. Adrian stood slowly. Maya, let me finish. She held up a hand, and there were tears in her eyes now. I became a doctor to save lives. But standing there today, watching you on that treadmill, all I could think was, what if I lose him? What if I can't save him? You're not going to lose me. You don't know that. Your father died at 62. You're 34 and your heart is already showing signs of stress. And the terrifying part is that you have control over which it is, and you've been choosing to destroy yourself. Why? He asked. After everything I did, after the way I hurt you, why do you still care? She laughed, a broken sound halfway to a sob. Do you think caring just stops? You don't stop loving someone just because they broke your heart. The word hung between them, solid and undeniable. Love. 5 years ago, she'd stood in his penthouse apartment and looked at him with tears streaming down her face. You missed my graduation. You promised you'd be there. You promised, Adrian. And he'd been cold. God, he'd been so cold. It's one graduation, Maya. I had a meeting that couldn't be rescheduled. I assumed you'd understand that my career has demands that don't bend to personal convenience. She'd flinched like he'd struck her. That's what I am to you. A convenience. He should have apologized. Should have taken it back. Should have told her she was wrong, that she mattered more than any deal. But his pride had been wounded, his ego inflated by the day's success. Maybe you're right. Maybe you can't live like this. Because this is who I am, Maya. I don't apologize for my ambition. If you can't handle that, then maybe this isn't going to work. She'd removed the key to his apartment from her keyring and placed it on the counter with a soft click that sounded like a door closing. Goodbye, Adrian. And she'd walked out. By the time he'd realized his mistake, really realized it, it had been too late. So he'd done what Adrian Cole always did when faced with emotional pain he didn't know how to process. He buried himself in work, built his empire higher, made more money than any human could spend in a lifetime. And he'd been empty. Now, standing in the consultation room, Adrian crossed the space between them. Maya, I've regretted that day every moment since you walked out. Every single moment. Don't, she shook her head. Don't make this about us. This is about you and your health. It's all connected, though, isn't it? He stopped close enough to see the tears she was fighting. You asked me why I work so hard, why I sleep so little. You want to know the truth? She nodded wordlessly. Because when you left, you took everything that mattered with you. And I didn't know how to live in the emptiness you left behind. So I filled it with work. I built an empire because I didn't know how to build a life worth living without you in it. A tear escaped, running down her cheek. That's not fair. You can't make me responsible for your self-destruction. I'm not. This is my fault. My choices, my consequences. But you asked why I care whether you care, and that's the answer. Because you're the only thing that's ever made me want to be better than I am. Adrian, I'm not asking for anything. I'm just telling you the truth. Because you deserve to hear it. She made a sound between a laugh and a sob. You're not dying. Not if you actually follow Dr. Harrison's recommendations. Then I will. I'll do everything he says I should do. Promise me. She stepped closer, looking up at him with an intensity that stole his breath. Promise me you'll actually do it. Because your life matters. Because you matter. I promise. She searched his face for a long moment. Whatever she saw must have satisfied her because she nodded slowly. I should go. This isn't professional. Maya, wait. Can I ask you something? What? Are you happy? The question seemed to catch her off guard. She considered it, her expression softening. Yes. Most of the time, yes. I love what I do. Good. That's good. Are you? She asked quietly. He could lie. Could tell her he had everything he'd ever wanted. But she'd asked for honesty. No. I don't think I have been. Not for a very long time. She nodded, as if this confirmed something she'd suspected. Then maybe that's where you start. With figuring out what would actually make you happy. What would make your life worth the heartbeats you're spending on it. Before he could respond, she slipped through the door, leaving him alone with her words echoing in the sudden silence. The weeks that followed fell into a rhythm that felt both foreign and strangely comforting. Cardiac rehab 3 times a week. Medication taken at the same time each morning. 7 hours of sleep, religiously maintained. Therapy sessions where he slowly unpacked decades of emotional armor. And slowly, almost imperceptibly, something shifted. His headaches became less frequent. His heart rate settled. The constant tension in his shoulders began to ease. But more than the physical changes, there was something else. A sense of space opening up inside him. Room to breathe. Room to think about things other than the next deal. Room to ask himself, what would make your life worth the heartbeats you're spending on it? He started a foundation. The Cole Foundation for Cardiac Care, focused on providing heart health screenings to underserved communities. The kind of work Maya believed in. He promoted his second-in-command to co-CEO, delegating responsibilities he'd once hoarded. He called his mother. Not just obligatory holiday calls, but real conversations. And slowly, gradually, he started to recognize the man in the mirror. Someone new. Someone better. 6 weeks after his first appointment with Maya, he attended his follow-up with Dr. Harrison. His blood pressure was down to 128/82. His resting heart rate was 72. His stress test results showed marked improvement. I'm impressed, Mr. Cole, Dr. Harrison said. Whatever you're doing, keep doing it. After the appointment, as Adrian was leaving, Dr. Harrison added casually, Dr. Lewis asked how you're doing. She tries to make it sound clinical, but he trailed off meaningfully. She's been offered a position. Head of Cardiology Research at the Global Health Initiative in Geneva. She leaves in 3 weeks. 3 weeks. And then she'd be gone again, this time to do work that mattered more than any second chance he didn't deserve. Adrian tried to stay away. Tried to let her go without complicating her departure. But 2 days before she left, he found himself at the airport. He sat in a corner of the international terminal and waited, telling himself he just needed to see her one more time. To witness the moment she walked toward her future. At 6:10, he saw her. Maya stood at the Swissair counter, pulling 2 large suitcases. She wore jeans and a soft sweater, her hair down and curling slightly. She looked young and excited and beautiful, and Adrian's heart cracked clean through. She checked her bags, received her boarding pass, turned toward security. And then she stopped. She stood very still, her head tilted as if she'd heard something. She turned and looked directly at him. For a moment, neither of them moved. They just stared at each other across 50 feet of crowded terminal. Then Maya started walking toward him. She stopped 3 feet away. What are you doing here, Adrian? He could lie, could make excuses. But they'd both asked for honesty. I wanted to see you off. I know I should have stayed away, but... He stopped, shook his head. I'm sorry. This was a mistake. Wait. She caught his arm. You came all the way to the airport just to watch me leave? Yes. That's either very romantic or very creepy. Despite everything, he almost laughed. Probably a bit of both. She didn't step back. I got your donation. Or the foundation's donation. The foundation reviewed your proposal. Adrian. gentle but firm. I know you started that foundation. I know the only reason it exists is because of me. He had no response. I accepted the money, she continued, because the work is too important to let my pride get in the way. But I need you to understand something. I didn't take the job because of the funding. I'm going to Geneva because it's what I want. What I've always wanted. This isn't about you. I know. Do you? She stepped closer. Because I need you to really understand that. I'm not running away from you. I'm running towards something. I understand, Maya. I do. And I'm not here to stop you. I'm here because 5 years ago, I didn't show up for your graduation. And I wanted to be here for this. Even if you never knew. I wanted to show up when it mattered. Her eyes glistened with unshed tears. You can't just say things like that. Why not? Because it makes me want to stay. And I can't stay, Adrian. I know. And I'm not asking you to. I'm telling you to go. A tear escaped. She wiped it away impatiently. I hate this. I hate that you've changed. I hate that you've become the person I needed you to be 5 years ago. I hate that the timing is all wrong again. Maybe timing was never our thing. She laughed, wet and broken. Maybe not. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small envelope. I wrote you a letter. You don't have to read it. But I needed to say some things. She took the envelope with trembling hands. Adrian, go to Geneva. Change the world. Save thousands of lives. Be extraordinary. And his voice cracked slightly, if you ever find yourself back in this city, I'll be here. Healthier. Happier. Maybe even someone you could be proud to know. I'm already proud to know you, she whispered. He wanted to kiss her. Wanted to pull her into his arms and tell her he loved her and beg her not to get on that plane. But he couldn't. Goodbye, Maya. Don't say goodbye. Say see you later. It was a kindness she didn't know him. A small thread of hope. See you later, he said. She stepped forward and hugged him. Brief but fierce, her arms around his waist, her head against his chest right where his heart was beating too fast. Take care of that heart, she whispered. It's a good one. Then she stepped back, shouldered her carry-on, and turned toward security. Adrian watched her go. Watched her pause on the other side of security, turning back one last time. Their eyes met across the checkpoint. She smiled. Small and sad and full of everything they'd never said. Then she waved and walked away and disappeared into the crowd. 18 months later, Adrian received an invitation. The Global Health Initiative Annual Gala in New York City. Dr. Maya Lewis would be presenting on her work in East Africa. He wrestled with whether to attend for 3 days. In the end, he went. The gala was held at a high-end Manhattan hotel. Adrian arrived late, slipping in as the presentations began. And then Maya took the stage. She wore a simple black dress, her hair longer than he remembered. She carried herself with the assurance of someone who knew exactly who she was and what she was worth. She was breathtaking. For 20 minutes, she showed slides and told stories. About farmers who'd walked 20 miles with chest pain. About mothers who would have died from treatable conditions. About the local physicians they'd trained, the lives they'd saved. She spoke with passion and precision, with humor and heartbreak. Adrian watched her and felt his heart break and heal simultaneously. This was who she was meant to be. After the presentations, the gala shifted into cocktail hour. Maya was surrounded by admirers, other doctors, potential donors, people who wanted to congratulate her. She looked happy. Adrian was preparing to leave quietly when someone said his name. Mr. Cole? I wanted to personally thank you again for the Cole Foundation's support. It was Sarah Mitchell from the Global Health Initiative. Before Adrian could respond, she added, Dr. Lewis doesn't know you're here, does she? No. Should I tell her? Adrian hesitated. Every instinct screamed at him to say no. But he'd spent 5 years avoiding difficult moments. I'll tell her myself. He made his way through the crowd slowly. When Maya turned and saw him, she froze mid-sentence. Her eyes went wide, her lips parting in surprise. Excuse me, she said to the person she'd been talking to, not taking her eyes off Adrian. She crossed the space between them in seconds. Adrian, you came. I came. Your presentation was incredible, Maya. I can't believe you're here. I thought, she stopped herself. It doesn't matter. You're here. Do you want to get some air? I'd like that. They slipped out onto a terrace overlooking the city. The night was cool, the skyline glittering. Maya leaned against the railing. 18 months. That's how long it's been since I saw you at the airport. I know. I've counted every day. She turned to look at him. Have you really? Yes. Why? You know why, Maya. She was quiet for a long moment. I read your letter. The one you gave me. I've read it probably 100 times. His heart lurched. You didn't have to. I wanted to. I needed to. Because it's been the hardest 18 months of my life. She took a shaky breath. The work has been extraordinary. But I can't stop thinking about you. Can't stop missing you in 1,000 small ways I didn't expect. Maya, let me finish. She turned to face him fully, tears glistening in her eyes. When I left, I told myself it was for the best. That the timing would never be right. And I believed that. But then you showed up at the airport. And you didn't beg me to stay. You just supported me. Told me to go chase my dreams. She wiped at her eyes. And that damn letter where you told me you kept the ring. Do you have any idea what that did to me? I shouldn't have. You should have. Because it made me realize I'd walked away from someone who loved me enough to buy a ring and carry hope for 5 years. Who changed his entire life because I told him he was dying. Her voice broke. And I got on a plane anyway. You made the right choice. Did I? Because I've spent 18 months saving other people's lives while feeling like I was dying inside. She stepped closer. I'm saying I don't know how to do this. The timing is still terrible because I'm based in Geneva and you're here. But I'm also saying I love you. I never stopped loving you. And I'm tired of pretending that going halfway around the world changed that. Adrian couldn't breathe. You love me. I love you. I'm in love with you. So congratulations, Adrian Cole. You've completely ruined me for anyone else. Say something, Maya whispered. Please. Adrian closed the distance between them and kissed her. Not gently. Not tentatively. But with 18 months of missing her, 5 years of regret, and a lifetime of love. Maya made a small sound of surprise, then melted into him, her hands fisting in his jacket, pulling him closer. When they finally broke apart, both breathless, Adrian rested his forehead against hers. I love you, he said. I've loved you since the day you walked into my life, and I'll love you until the day I die. I'll love you through whatever comes next, distance, difficulty, terrible timing, all of it. She was crying openly now. We're a mess. We're a disaster, he agreed. The timing is still terrible. The worst. I can't leave Geneva. Not yet. I have a year left on my contract. Actually, Adrian said slowly, what if I move to Geneva? I have a COSIO now. The foundation can operate from anywhere. Most of my work is remote. The idea gained momentum. What if we tried this? Really tried. Not long distance, but actually being in the same city, seeing if we can make this work when we're both different people than we were before. Adrian, that's insane. You can't just uproot your entire life. Why not? You did. You got on a plane and moved halfway around the world for your dreams. Why can't I do the same for mine? Your dream is me? My dream is a life worth living. And I've spent 2 years building that life. Taking care of my health, fixing my priorities, becoming someone I can be proud of. But the last piece is missing. He cupped her face in his hands. You're the last piece, Maya. You always have been. What if it doesn't work? Then at least we'll know. At least we'll have tried. He kissed her forehead gently. But I don't think it will fall apart. Because we're not the same people we were 5 years ago. We've both done the work to become people who might actually deserve each other. Maya laughed through her tears. Might. Definitely, he corrected. She was quiet, weighing possibilities and consequences. Then she smiled, that beautiful, brilliant smile, and said, Okay. Move to Geneva. Let's try this. Let's be insane together and see what happens. Really? Really. But ground rules. You keep taking care of your health. You keep going to therapy. We're partners in this, equals, or we don't do it at all. Deal. And if it doesn't work, if we realize we're better apart than together, we promise to be honest about it. Deal. And you have to learn French. Because I'm not being the only one who sounds like an idiot trying to order coffee. He laughed, the sound full of joy and relief and hope. Deal. Anything else? She pretended to think about it. Kiss me again? I can do that. This kiss was different. Slower, deeper, full of promise instead of desperation. A beginning instead of an ending. When they finally returned to the gala, rumpled and smiling and obviously together, the entire room seemed to notice. Adrian didn't care. All that mattered was the woman beside him, her hand in his, her laughter in his ear. All that mattered was that they'd found their way back to each other. And this time, the timing was finally and possibly miraculously right. Sometimes the heart knows what the mind takes years to understand. Sometimes second chances come when we finally become worthy of them. And sometimes love is patient enough to wait for two people to find their way back to each other. If this story touched your heart, remember, it's never too late to change, never too late to become the person you were always meant to be, and never too late to fight for what truly matters.